Welcome, guys, to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. Now, I'm doing this in a different way today. I'm recording at night time. I usually record this show in the day, but had lots to do today, so I'm pushing it back to the night, which is actually really apt for this particular band and a particular album. As you can tell by the title, as you've clicked on it, it's Venom's debut album, Welcome to Hell, released in 1981. Now, I have talked about Venom before on this show quite a few times. I've also reviewed the first Tony Doolin album, Primeval. I've interviewed Tony Doolin for the show as well, and so you know, there's no misunderstanding here. They are one of my favourite bands on the planet in both invocations, I should say, shouldn't I? So either the early one or the later one, either way. And I'm more of a Venom Inc. man now, of course, because Venom, the original lineup, don't really do a lot these days. They're still touring, but they're not recording a lot. Now, I first came across this a little bit of history for those that haven't heard the episodes before and coming fresh to it. I first came across the band in about 1987, so around that time, and I was given a copy of Welcome to Hell. No, not Welcome to Hell. One second, my cat is making lots of noise. One moment. Sorry about that. My little cat is very much, as you all know from the past, she likes to get into things, and there's a box in the spare bedroom and she's just trying to climb inside it. That's what happens when you record on your own at home, when your lovely wife/partner is away. Now, so I first came across them in the late 80s, and I was given, not Welcome to Hell, I was given At War with Satan. I've mentioned this before, how there she goes, how it scared the living crap out of me at the time. It was one of the most sort of evil seething albums I've ever heard, because I was sort of on the fringes of that kind of music for quite some time. You know, the heaviest thing I'd really got into up until then was honestly probably was Motorhead, but they weren't really evil, you know. And I never really got into Kiss because they sounded like they wrote songs about loving you not all night long, but you look like demons. Didn't do anything for me. Sorry, Kiss fans, just didn't do it. Whereas these guys really seem to be the real deal. This was just before the whole satanic Norwegian thing came about, so it was sort of new to me. And as I said, it scared the bejesus out of me. I don't know why it did. It just did. It was because horror movies and horror stories, you can put the book down, you can turn the movie off, and eventually you know someone. It feels fake, but sometimes when it's musical, it sort of lives with you a bit more, well, especially with me, a little bit more personally and a little bit more. Hang on, my cat's going to jump up on the table anytime now. Come on up, you come. Coming up. Yeah, there's a little bit more sort of seething and more personal because it's in your ears, or you know, you connected to it for such a strong way. Anyway, I'm sidetracked. I'm babbling on because my lovely cat Phoebe is about to jump on my laptop. Hopefully not. Anyway, so the history of the band. Now, I've told you my history with the band, and now the history of the band. So a really potted history. I'm not going to go in real depth here because I basically want to talk about the album. But Venom are really interesting for me where they sit in the genres of music, because they don't like being called a NWOBHM band, new wave of British heavy metal, because that's basically where they were sort of came in around 79, that sort of birth of new wave of British heavy metal, or NWOBHM. I'm sort of with them on that regard, that I think they're more hardcore punk and they're their own thing than just a straightforward rock and roll heavy metal band. Because at that time, if you picked up any album, particularly on the Neat label or Bronze, any of those sort of NWOBHM albums, they were, even though they were rough and ready. They were quite clean and polished. They had a bit Wishbone Ash feel to it. I mean, even Iron Maiden's first album, even though that Steve Harris says he doesn't like the sound of it now, back then it was really, really polished and really clean and very... I mean, we're not going to talk about that. That's a different program. We already know how we feel about that album. But Venom came about at a time when a lot of that was already being done, right? It was. I think they were looking for something different, the same way that Sabbath were looking for something different when they released the first Black Sabbath album. Venom was the same. You had now there were several bands. I'm not going to go into the whole history. They merged together and become one band up in the north of England, in Newcastle, and they sort of, as all bands do, struggled to find a sound. Luckily, Conrad Lant, or Kronos, the lead singer and bass player, quite musical in his own regards. In fact, looking at his biography, he actually really likes like Jethro Tull and Yes and Pink Floyd and stuff like that. So, interesting character. He worked at the recording studio where they recorded their first single and their first album, okay, which is Impulse Studios up in the north of England, as I said. And he persuaded the manager at the time to let him and his band record. Now, he also is a very talented artist, and he designed the logo for the band and the look. Now, interesting saying about that, he was into Abaddon, the drummer, Anthony Bray, was interviewed about that, and someone said it looks a bit like a Yes logo, and it turns out that Conrad, when he was making the logo, actually was copying or thinking of the Yes logo, right? Okay, and he just sort of mentioned it. Someone mentioned in an interview, and typically sort of Abaddon, because I have met the man, he's an interesting character. He turned around and said, "No, fuck off. No, we don't do anything to do with Yes or that, any of that stuff, right?" Which clearly he didn't do the artwork, so he can... I'm not sure where he was coming from. I think he was just putting on bravado. And then you have Mantis on guitar, Jeff Dunn. One of the most underrated and most technically proficient and interesting guitarists, I think, in the heavy metal scene or the heavy rock scene in any of the genres. These three lads, they come out from sort of like the punk thing, Jeff himself, or Mantis, was a big Kiss fan. He likes, and you can hear it in a lot of the tracks. You can actually hear it in some of the tracks I'm going to talk about later on. As I said, Conrad was like interesting, Tull and all that sort of stuff, and Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. Same with Abaddon. A three-piece, one of my favourite three-piece bands in the world. And they form. I mean, famously, Jeff said that he was always played guitar since he was a young boy, but he wanted to make the sound he makes after seeing Priest in 1979 or KK Downing play guitar. Said, that's what I want to do. And it's a marvelous time in music because everything was so free and fluent. Now, people might poo-poo or get cranky with punk, and then and Steve Harris has said it before, he doesn't like it. A lot of people didn't at the time and still don't. But if you think about it, if you listen to this album and you've heard it before, or you're new to this album, there's something very, very punky about it. And without the punk movement, I've said this before, without the explosion that happened in 77, bands like this would not be on the radar. We probably wouldn't even get to hear them, because record labels would control everything, EMI and all those sort of things. There would be no independent labels, and there would be no real independent movers and shakers and people doing something they want to do that was different. Because if you do listen to this album, I highly recommend you do, you're going to listen to it and you're going to think, fuck it, if you haven't heard it, it is an acquired taste. I'm going to say that out loud. Right, okay, guys, don't go jumping into this album willy-nilly if you don't like lo-fi, aggressive music that has some, and let's be honest, adult themes, themes that might upset and offend people, and things like that, right? So it's very, we'll talk about the music when we get to the music, but it is itself very lo-fi, and it taps into something I really love. It's something that really, for many years, I was so adamant that if the music was too clean and too polished, I couldn't listen to it, which is very ironic when you think that I listen to a lot of prog, which is very clean and very polished. But I used to push that aside. I knew that, but I mean generally in the heavy metal scene, too polished, too clean, I would done it for a little while. I sat there and went, oh no, and that's because of the influence of Venom on me. I wanted to hear this sort of raucous naivety, this dangerous, on the edge of violence, this sort of darkness, this not knowing what they're playing with kind of feel, right? They got their names, interestingly, from they had a copy of the Satanic Bible which they shared around with each other while living, like playing in the first incantation of the band, which actually had a 4-piece. The original singer went on to be the manager of the band, and the original and the pyrotechnic guy went on to be the guitar tech and all this sort of stuff. Now Abaddon, and they're also, the thing about the band, and it's another reason that I love this band, is that Jeff was really into showmanship. Abaddon would turn up to rehearsals, and he worked in a building, like in a factory, and he'd make like pop bombs and explode them all over the place, and had pyrotechnics going everywhere, because Jeff was a big Kiss fan, and Kiss is all about showmanship, right? And so he wanted to sort of replicate that, and you get that with Venom. You really do. If you watch the Seven Gates of Hell tour, or Seven Dates of Hell, tour, that Metallica supported on, and I can say it again, Metallica supported on, and we'll get to their heritage and their lineage in a minute. It's like fog and fireworks, and it's just, but it's so lo-fi. It's almost Spinal Tap-ish, but there's something endearing to me about it. Something that the later incantations of the band, the later albums sort of lost. They don't have from this particular album, and this is for me of the first incantation of, or original lineup of Venom, Welcome to Hell, Black Metal, and At War with Satan are the three that stand out the most, right? They really, really stand out. Like you can feel when you listen to it, you can feel that there is, if you'd never heard anything like it before, you can feel that there is a genre changing moment. Like when I first heard it, I thought, wow, this is something that, imagine a 16-year-old boy in 1980, it was 81 when the album came out, and listening to, say Demon or Praying Mantis or Iron Maiden or Saxon or any of those sort of bands, and suddenly you go, oh look, but it's in the same category in this record shop, and you pick up this album cover and it's got the goat of Mendes on the front, the pentangle, it's black, it looks foreboding and ominous and seething with hatred and nastiness. You think, oh man, I want to give this one a listen, see what this is like. It's the same way that you can't look away at a horror movie sometimes. You can't not look away, you can't but keep your eyes on the screen. It's the same with this album, and imagine putting it on for the first time and it opening up with the first track, and I don't know whether it'd blow your mind. It would definitely blow your mind. But being a boy in that age then, you would be used to the way that punk was doing its thing. So lo-fi wouldn't be that different to you. But as I said, if you've been listening to Maiden and Priest and Praying Mantis and Tigers of Pang Tang and all those sort of bands, even bands like Satan and Demon, who have satanic imagery but don't really play a lot of satanic, music. I mean, the closest thing I can think of to Venom at the time is Witchfind, but even then, the album cover says more than the music sings, if you know what I mean. It's a bit all show, no go, right? Whereas even I love that album intensely, but the Venom album and the sound in general was just chaotic. And I think the way they got their sound is that they didn't, like John Lydon's famously once said, I sung like I sung because I couldn't hear myself, and therefore I didn't know how I sounded. And I think this is very much like these guys. You have to think that they would have made this album quickly. They would have made it as fast as they could in the studio with as little money as they could spend, even though it was given to them free, I think, the studio time. They've got to try and not take a mickey and do it as best as quick as they can. And I think, of course, this is without really good engineers. This is without cleaning everything up. This is raw. And if you listen to their demo tapes, the church hall tapes, which I do have on vinyl and they're out now, you can really hear the antithesis, the birth of a whole new genre. It's a whole new genre. I mean, they really did birth extreme metal. They really did birth black metal, as it says by the name of their second album. They really did create and go on to create genres of thrash, speed metal. It all comes from these guys. I mean, you might say, oh no, Tony, I don't believe you. Just look at the people that they influenced. Metallica is one of them. They are hugely influential on Metallica, and Metallica are one of the most influential modern metal bands of the lot. I mean, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Judas Priest, right? That's it, of the modern ones I'm talking about. Even though Judas Priest isn't modern, but you know what I mean, okay? That and Van Halen, and it's all. It's crazy what they did. Now, I don't think they set out to initially change the world. Although interviews I have read with Mantis and with Kronos and with Abaddon, they've said they were trying to tread on toes. They were trying to create the most noisy album ever. And you can always hear in their music, you can hear GBH, you can hear Extreme Noise Terror, you can hear Crass, you can hear Kiss, you can hear Deep Purple. I mean, you can hear it all in there. Black Sabbath, it's all in there if you go and listen carefully enough. It is, as I said, an acquired taste. It's not for everyone, and I don't wish you to go away if you haven't never listened to this album. And I know I do get a lot of listeners to my show that do go and listen to stuff for the first time that I mentioned, and I do get like some responses saying, "Oh, that wasn't for me." It might not be for you, but if you take out if you remove your polished ear, I think that's the right term. Might not be. Hang on. And just to listen to it for its rawness, it will astound you, actually. Now, as I said before entering into this record, there are images, lyrics and concepts that will offend people, and I'm absolutely sure they will. They have in the past and they will again. But you can't make an omelette without cracking eggs, and unfortunately this sort of genre and imagery, you cannot make a satanic based album and talk about daisies, sunshine and princesses, now can you? There is going to be stuff that is a bit on the nose for some people, but as I said, bear with me, because there are some absolute cracking moments in this album. Now, that was the quick potted history of Venom and how I come about them, what I love about them, and we'll come into the other side after the ad and we'll talk about the album track by track and its sound, okay, and some more of its influences. Anyway, talk to you after the break. Bye for now, guys. Welcome back, my brethren, to part 2 of this dive into Venom's Welcome to Hell. I truly believe that this is the most important album to come out of the NWOBHM, even though I said before they don't consider themselves a NWOBHM, but the NWOBHM movement. That is the new wave of British heavy metal, for those people that don't like anachronisms. I know myself, I'm slightly anachrophobic. Anyway, I think it truly is. The reason I say that, and I know that Iron Maiden fans now are staring down the barrel of their guns at me, but Iron Maiden were a part of a movement that a lot of bands around the same time sounded very similar, whereas Venom, when they came about, completely different. Just the same way that the Pistols are not the same as the Damned, and the Damned aren't the same as 999, and the 999 aren't the same as X-Ray Specs. It's just, it's there. Like, a lot of people they have this image in their mind of what heads of movements are. The Pistols, punk, heavy metal, Iron Maiden, or Black Sabbath. I think I dive a bit further and say Venom's first album and Venom's sound. Because they influenced Metallica, and Metallica influenced every other band that you could think of, they are very, very important. In fact, a little known fact here, that before the Beastie Boys were the Beastie Boys, before they were a rap band, if that's the right term for a rap group, I don't know, they were rappers, those rappers dudes, before they were them, they were a hardcore punk band, and their big influence was Venom. In fact, this album. So, when you're there listening to anything that's influenced by the Beastie Boys, you can say now that there was also a connection with black metal. So it all goes around in circles, right? Anyway, the first single was released on April the 19th, 1981. It was in League with Satan, backed with live versions of Angel Dust and Die Like a Devil. Now, as I said before, the sound of this album is not for everyone. Now, the way I describe it, it sounds like the band is recording the album in a different room, with the mic against the wall. You know what I mean? It sounds like it's been played in a paper bag almost. Conrad's vocals are very pushed back, and the guitarist and the drummer and Mantis and Jeff Mantis and Abaddon are also feel slightly sludgy in the mix. This is due to what they're doing, because I think they produced it themselves, and not having enough experience, time, or money to make the sound they probably wanted to make. Now, I personally think that this album, clean and polished, would be ruined. Absolutely ruined. This smells like the sulphurous pits of hell. You know what I mean? This has such a... It's such a Hammer horror movie feel to it. It's such a... just like Black Sabbath's first album was the same, but shockingly different. And this single that comes off it first, In League with Satan, is such an amazing call to arms for their band, because it's sing-along. We'll get to that in a second in the album, but it's sing-along. It's got this fantastic marching guitar, this crazy wailing Hellcat, screwing cat guitar solos that you hear on Slayer records much, much later. And of course we know that they also influenced Slayer as well, and now another one of those bands that influenced everyone else. So it's let's go track by track. I think it's probably the best thing to do, okay, because there's not much more else I can say about the way this record plays. And I honestly, again, I think that I would only play it on vinyl. It sounds like I'm being a vinyl snob, but my original copy, because it's quite old and quite crackly, even though I've got other copies of it, it sort of pays homage to to the sound of the band. I think that as soon as you clean it up and digitize it, sort of doesn't quite work. Although, it's still listening to it through on your iPhones and your whatever you're using it through, still good enough. But as I said, it's honestly an outstanding album. So we open the album with the first track, and again, it's not a long album because they couldn't do a lot, right? It has to be sort of you're back then you were at the mercy of the record material you're printing on and the money you're going to spend on it. So it opens up with Son of Satan. Now, Son of Satan originally was a track that I used to skip. I'd always go straight to Welcome to Hell, which is the second track. I don't know why I used to skip it, but I just used to. It was one of those ones where I felt weirdly that it was too light. And I don't know why I did that, but and that was when I was younger, of course, and younger and foolish. Now I go straight into Son of Satan because the whole album needs to be listened to because it's all killer and no filler with this one. Now, Son of Satan, it's basically says what it is. It's based around, for me, it feels like it's based around all those sort of Satan's Claw and Devil Rides Out and Rosemary's Baby and all that sort of concept horror movies of the 70s, right? And lyrically, I mean, I'm not going to pick out the lyrics a lot in this because some of it is quite offensive or not offensive, wrong word, it can upset people, so I'm going to leave it be. I'll pick out some of them because there are some amazing moments. It opens with a clatter. I mean, it doesn't even... the wonderful thing I'd say about this album, and again, playing it from the beginning through, is it doesn't go, oh, we'll introduce ourselves slightly. It's like, as soon as that needle hits the very first part of the groove, it is chaos. It is pure chaos. Abaddon smacking around on his kit, this raucous, high energy, punk-like guitar, and then straight in with Kronos and his heavy bass. He pick basses, he doesn't finger bass, and straight in. Now they're all wearing leather studs and spandex and the image. You will see the image when you. I'm going to put a picture up. I'll probably put it on my website somewhere. You can have a look. But the band have just got this incredible. It's like imagining. It's like Judas Priest, but on steroids, right? So the lyrics are quite. I will go give you these ones because it's not too bad. I'll just hit the mic. So I'm saying, okay, somewhere in time where we were born, brought blood, lust, hatred, and scorn. Sorry now you trusted me. Now I command that you get down on your knees for hell, the deceiver, Satan's child. You're the believer, and we're going wild. And he goes, we're going wild. And he does that, and it goes into this fantastic whirlwind guitar piece. It is. I mean, it's not poetry. It's not Keats, is it? It's not Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It is what you get, but it is the building blocks of all extreme metal comes in this, even in this first song, right? Even put like this lyric here: put away all your virtues, stop your climbing the walls, just sign your name on the paper, we'll have ourselves a ball. What is the battle of envy? You weren't so mighty and brave, but your foolish compulsion sent you to the grave. Like it's basically about signing your name away to the devil, isn't it? Signing your soul away. Is basically what it's saying. I think it's also sort of a bit around Faust as well. Very clever. But I like the way that Venom also like to name themselves. Sometimes it's a bit weird when bands name check themselves. I find it a little bit cringy. But they go, join Venom's Legion because we're going wild. Straight away they're already using their famous Legions term. They're talking about going wild, being nuts, going crazy. You can imagine being at the front of that firestorm of a gig. And they played 12 nights at the Hammersmith Odeon. It was unbelievable. They just was such a crazy. So the song itself, I said I mean, it's very hard to describe unless you listen to it, but it is a whirlwind of drums, guitars, screeching guitars, heavy bass. Really, Kronos, for all his detractors, he can sing. He's like a bit like John Lydon. You're not going to get Tony Bennett here, are you? Right? You're not going to get Bruce Dickinson. You're going to get something. You're going to get a John Lydon, basically, sort of thing here, and he knows his limitations. As I said, it's very lo-fi. It's very recorded through some very heavy filter. It sounds like to me, and also ever so slightly. They're out of tune with each other. There's quite chaotic. There's moments where you can hear Abaddon come in and he shouldn't have come in, and then you've got Jeff going into a solo where he probably should have gone into some rhythm, and but that alone is worth the price of admission, right? It's just, it sounds like three lads just having a ball. Now, one of the endearing legends about this album is that when they asked Kronos how they got that sound, he said that when the engineers or the owners of the studio were not there, he took a chainsaw to the studio door and recorded the sound. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'd love to think it is. It just makes me chuckle. Obviously, not Wanton Destruction doesn't make me chuckle, but it does make me chuckle. And then we move into Welcome to Hell. Now, where do I begin with Welcome to Hell? I mean, it's got this fantastic, catchy sing-along, Welcome to Hell. And then a brilliant, one of the best riffs in extreme metal history in this song. It's really simple. It's really marching. It's very generous in its space. It's open. The bass is driving. Abaddon is going nuts behind the front too. And it's just, it is a call to arms, right? An absolute call to arms. Here, I'll give you some of the lyrics here. Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, almost played it. I'll get myself in trouble. Hang on. I was looking for the lyric sheet. Here we go. I love it because it opens with fight, we fight right, living low in a world of our own, destined to live right, we're taking hell as our home, burning lives burning, asking me for the mercy of God, ancient cries crying, acting faster upon the way of the dog, welcome to hell. And it's like, I just love it. Kill, we will kill death. I'm not going to other ones because there's some rude lyrics there, but I love. And then also, after the third chorus, it goes into a fantastic Lord's Prayer. And those that don't know the Lord's Prayer, I'll read to you here. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me in green pastures to lie, and leads me beside the waters in peace. He renews life within me. And then but behind that, Kronos is obviously something, I don't quite know what he's saying, but he's saying, oh, here we go. Leave your souls at his feet, and for his name's sake, guides me to the right paths. Kiss the flames, scorn defeat. Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I think that's what he's saying in behind. And it really, really does. It says, "Hi guys, this is the new genre. This is a new way. This is heavy metal's version of Anarchy in the UK or God Save the Queen." It's that cornerstone, that rod in the sand, that line in the sand, that mark on the wall. This is it. This is the battle flags unfurled. It is truly the anthem of the genre. It's got, again, stomping, brilliant drums, pounding bass, guttural vocals that I still hear what he's saying. He's got this sort of really quite scary voice, Kronos. I've always thought that. He quite does scare me a bit, actually. And, the ever-genius Jeff, or Mantis, playing some incredibly intricate Kiss-like rhythms. Actually, you can hear, particularly in this rhythm here, I wish I could play it to you, I can't. But the riff in this does have a bit of a Kiss vibe to it. It is a tremendously fantastic track. It does not let you down every time you play it. And then, of course, I think actually I'm going to jump into my favourite outside of that on this album. And I have jumped around with my favourite songs on this album over and over and over. But actually, the third song, Schizo, has one of my favourite concepts about something about a serial killer that they've written. It's very about a madman. It's typically sort of dark, but the music itself is probably something of the best on the album, which is really a big call, because his album is a corker really all the way through. One second. It's a whirlwind, an absolute whirlwind. Again, like all their stuff, it doesn't give you a moment on this album to go, oh, I'll ease myself into this. It's just a whirlwind of chaos. It's like a metallic chaos, a beautiful chaos. You know, there's beauty in chaos, and this is such a beautiful, chaotic frenzy, I think is the right word. And I love the lyric at the beginning. It goes, children gather around him, mystery surrounds him, what terrible secrets does he hide? An ordinary man doing what he can, but what goes on inside his mind. The night draws nigh. And then it goes this great bit where it goes, the night draws nigh, with darkened skies, axe blade shines, midnight chimes, morning comes around. Headless bodies found, our little friend just sits and smiles. It's just the way that they bring that. And Kronos' vocal on this is probably my favourite on the album. It is really soaring and biting, and he's having so much fun with this. He's really, really fucking enjoying himself, and you can feel that, like in lyrics like read the Bible to them, be sure to kiss each one goodnight, but come the night you'll freeze with fright, axe drawn high, another dies. And then it's this brilliant bit where he sort of spits out, it goes, creeping and searching for victims unknowing, what faith doth wait round each corner he takes in the night. And it's just like, it's very Maiden-esque actually in some parts. That it's very theatrical. It's not just straightforward, blow your ears off. There are some textures to this. It is quite textured. But this is my favourite. Again, it's got one of my favourite guitar solos on the album. It just starts straight away with the power that you expected. It just takes you by your breath away. It squeezes you by the balls, and it makes your eyes pop out. And that is all there is to it. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now, after that, we'll just go. Now, the next track on from this is... Actually, this next one is just a small piece of music. It's a little bit of interlude music, which was really the vogue in a lot of early sort of 80s metal from Britain, and it's quite common now. You get it in a lot of albums where they do this. You just put a little piece of music in. This thing runs for like 1 minute and 19. It's a nice little bit of sort of guitar, a little bit of atmosphere. It's called Mayhem with Mercy. I really like it. I don't know why it's there. I think it's just to go, hey, take a breath, guys, because we're about to rock your world next. You've done pretty well, now have a rest. I think that's basically what it is. It might also be on there just to pad the album out, who knows. It might go on, hey guys, we need to add in a minute here. And they went, well, can't write a song in that short time. We'll just put a piece of music in. And it's quite beautiful, to be honest. And then Poison. Now, this one lyrically will offend some people. I'm absolutely sure it will, because it does come back to themes that Venom do like to approach quite a lot in their catalogue. Sexual related themes, usually quite misogynistic themes. They'll say tits out for the lads and all that, tits out for the lads and all that kind of thing. But again, this one has a really great sing-along chorus. Even if you don't really like what he's saying or don't can't understand, you get to the chorus and it's just poison, poison, you got me poison. It's like it's this one, I think, even more so than else, feels like a Kiss song to me. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's the tone of the guitar on it, but again, it's raucous, it's loud, it's metallic, it's gravelly, it's gorgeous. I'll read you a lyric. Your love is infectious, you're rotten to the core, everybody knows what you got, but they still come back for more. You're everybody's favourite, you give them a little good time. Your love is a total disaster, but when they sign that dotted line, they're poisoned. I think basically, let's be honest, it's about sleeping with someone that's given the clap, isn't it? women of the night that aren't very clean. I think that's basically was making love with the devil's daughter, poisoned. One night with you and you've got me poisoned. Again, yeah, I won't go into all of it because again, I don't want to offend this. I try not to be too rude in this podcast. So, but yeah, have a listen. If you want to be brave, have a listen to the lyric again. But if you're not that, if you're a bit easily offended, maybe skip past this song or just listen to the music. It's brilliant. It is where you first hear Kronos' real sort of carry on movie kind of seaside postcard 70s British sitcom kind of Mrs. kind of lyrical content, which sometimes I think and I've said this before about other bands, makes them feel a little bit cartoonish and a little bit dated, but this one I don't think it does, because it's backed up with some really aggressive music, but also with very clever lyrics, in the fact that it is quite rude and it is quite meant to be offensive, I think. I mean, he's not writing a song, is he, to play to his mum, although he might do, who knows. Probably got one of those kind of mums that loves it, but I don't mean that, you know what I mean, loves his music. That's what I meant. Sorry, Conrad, if you're listening, I wasn't trying to offend your mum. Anyway, so it begins here, right? You have your satanic imagery, and then you've got some of your killers. You've got your ladies in the night. It's all in this album. It's all in this album, people. It's all in this album. And then we've got one of the first singles that Jeff ever wrote. One of the first songs he ever wrote. A crowd favourite. I've seen him play a few times, and it is pretty amazing. And that's "Live Like an Angel." This one, if you wanted to, you could take out the Venom style sound out of it, and you could have a good old classic 70s rock number. It's robust, it's fast, it's again chaotic, but it's also really catchy in a weird way where extreme metal shouldn't be catchy. Tracks like "Welcome to Hell," "Poison," and "Live Like an Angel" are catchy. A great lyric: "Live like an angel, die like a devil." It's so it could. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a movie title, but it should be, shouldn't it? Every night I'm in a different town. I'm the kind that likes to get around, living fast. I'm on the run. I take my chances because I'll only die young. Live like an angel, die like a devil. I've got a place in hell reserved for me. Live like an angel, die like a devil. I'm going to burn in hell. That's where I'm going to be. And it is very kissy. It's very kiss-esque. If that's what you know what I mean. I keep saying that. It's because Jeff's major influence, and he's the major songwriter of the band. I think Conrad was lyricist, along with Anthony, I think, or Mantis and Abaddon, but musically, Jeff really drives the band and has done for a very long time, and you can really hear his influence, and it does have that influence of Kiss and that sort of thing playing around, and it's a great single. It's a great idea. It's a great live favourite. It's a little bit light relief because it's not as in your face. It's still Venom, but it's sing-alongy Venom, right? It's like Venom light almost in some respects, without offending anyone on that respect. Because if it's your favourite Venom song, I don't mean it in that way to offend you, but it is a little bit more lighter. It's a little bit Venom light, which is nothing wrong with that. Again, fantastic wailing, hell-like solo, which just it has to be heard. It's just chaos, and I keep saying this, but I really fucking love chaos in this kind of form of music, and you can feel their talent trying to burst out. You can feel their talent. It's there, really, really there. It's bristling. It's vibrating. It's got static coming. It's so much talent, but it's so restricted within the medium, within the way it's recorded, that you almost just want to hear that balloon burst or the dam break, and suddenly this just hellish sound comes out, and that's what you get with this album, and in this band in general, actually, in both forms, later and older forms of the band. And then we get Witching Hour. Now, Witching Hour took me a little while to get into Witching Hour, I have to tell you, but it's well worth the wait. Really, really is. It's a little bit different for everything else on the album, because it doesn't start straight away with, here is our guitar, please now take it out of your mouth. It's sort of, it has atmosphere, builds up very much like a Black Sabbath track, actually, and then it stays with one musical theme all the way through. It's just like Abaddon absolutely going for hell for leather on one beat, and smashing the shit out of the hi-hat and the snare. Mantis just, holding this wretched, fetid riff, and Kronos just sort of growling over it. So that's why originally I struggled with it when I first heard it, actually, because I thought I had all this different stuff going on in the album, and suddenly it was just quite monotonal noise. But I'm being unfair to it, because it's actually a brilliant track, and it's sits really well in the mix, and you do need a variety. And so it just goes to show that these bands had variety within their sound. When they say that all their music sounds the same, well, no, it fucking doesn't, because I've swore a bit on this album. I do put on this pod. I'm so sorry. I think it's because I'm recording late at night. I don't know. Who knows? I do apologise. Anyway, it is a little bit... It just gets me. I get this album. It gets my blood boiling, and I get cranky when people say bad things about this band, and it annoys me. Anyway, I've ummed too much as well. You should have a button every time I go press it, and you get a fart noise. No. All you'll be hearing is hey. Anyway. So yeah, it's a cracking track, Witching Hour, and again, a lot of the live favourite, often played with lots of pyrotechnics and smoke, but this preludes into an absolute. This next track, in my opinion, and I can be opinionated, is Venom's version, or their version, or their sort of version of a Rime of the Ancient Mariner, or Alexander the Great, or any of those maiden epics. This is 1000 Days in Sodom. Now, there was a movie made. It's based on the Marquis de Sade book, which, again, if you try and read it, is mainly very boring, but also at the same time extremely nasty. So again, don't go reaching for it if you can find a copy, because you might be either very bored or extremely nauseated. So he was a bit of a sick freaking guy. Was our I didn't swear, I said freaking dude. Was the Marquis de Sade. I recommend researching him. Very interesting character. That's where we get the word sadomasochism from. Okay, sadism. Anyway. It also was a movie called Paolo. It's 100 Days in Sodom, I think it is. Again, that's another really interesting movie that they take the idea of 100 Days in Sodom, and they sort of add it, make it a sort of Nazi kind of theme, and it's again very disturbing. I did watch it when I was at art school to study. I was studying that form of film, and it really did sort of leave. It's quite distasteful, again. But then you don't get. It's not high art that we're getting from this. This stuff is the base of humans' sort of depravity, I suppose. And the song itself has a strangely, really, really good sing-along chorus, like really good and fantastic. This is probably Abaddon's best drumming on the album, because it comes more forward in the mix. And I think Kronos as well also feels slightly better in the mix of this on this particular track, and Mantis sort of holds back a bit in the guitar on it, although there is again his trademark wizardry of screeching hell-like guitar on it. It opens with some absolute crunching rhythm guitar, though. Some real heavy. You know, when you need music that's heavy, this is the one to grab. If you don't, you know, you're going to start somewhere and want to move into the extreme music genre because you'll dabble with it, this is where you start, right? Look, this song is going to polarize people, okay? This is not a song that's for people that are faint-hearted, I don't think, to be honest with you. Lyrically, not particularly. I'm going to read you the lyric here, okay? Opening bit. It says, "Unholy city, a sinner's delight. No one was spared, out of mind, out of sight. Hatred and slaughter, degradation and lust, self-destruction, never counting the cost. No one knew the suffering behind the city walls. No one heard the cry for help. No one heard the call. 1,000 days in Sodom. Children slaughtered daily when their mothers by their sides. No mercy given, no matter where they cried, how they cried. The smell of death was near, his presence ever near. The priests they lay in bound chains, no one would ever hear. No one knew the blasphemy, the torture and the pain. No one saw the madness, the priests, they died in vain." Look, it says it all, right? It is something that it's one of the reasons why when I was, I said, 16 or 17, it shocked me because I wasn't expecting to hear this kind of stuff on a record. I said the darkest thing I'd heard up until I came into Venom was Black Sabbath, to be truly, and Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. But let's be honest, that's you know, it's Mary Poppins compared to this sort of stuff. And you do need to have a bit of a thicker skin sometimes to really enjoy it. So as I said, don't go blaming me if you don't like it. I know people like John, who listens every week, my very, very good friend John. He always tries everything I recommend. He always puts it on, and you know, and I'm really, really proud of him. And it's one of those things that I love about him very much, that he will try anything and everything, and he never seems to feel daunted by it. He might not like it, and he'll tell me, but he will always give it a go. And I'd love you to all try and give this a go if you haven't already. And most metalheads that listen to this show have already listened to this album, or some form of Venom album or song or single or whatever. They've all listened to some form of it. But if you haven't listened to this, just do give it a go. So 1,000 Days in Sodom, yes, as I said, it's the epic on the album for me. It truly feels epic. It has a real poetic feel to its structure. And again, I think Kronos as a lyricist, and all the guys that wrote the songs, whoever wrote the lyrics in this band, these are not, just like with John Lydon. People think he couldn't write songs. You know, an 18-year-old boy writing EMI or Bodies or Anarchy in the UK or God Save the Queen. This is stuff that is not, it's superhuman almost. And the same with these guys here writing these lyrics. Same with Steve Harris. His musical genius. All bound up in this lovely, wonderful musical form we listen to. So the next track on from that is Angel Dust. Now, I'm not going to have to tell you what that is about. You work it for yourself. I'm just going to say marching powders, and you'll know what I mean. Nose candy and so on. Okay, PCP and all that kind of stuff. It's a fast, raucous, high energy song. I can't say the else. That's what they all are on this album. There's nothing to say any different. It's exactly like everything else, but it's equally as fast, equally as sexy, equally as addictive. It's got a brilliant chord. It opens with Jeff's, again, just straight away. It's just, there's no intricacies, no widdly diddlies, no Steve Vai's on this. This is pure 110% rock and roll. This is what, if Chuck Berry was going to be in a heavy metal band, this is what he'd play. This is pure, unadulterated excitement between your ears and coming out your amp. And it's got a great lyric, living, running out on the streets at night, searching, hoping for right connections, because I need it, want it, Know I've got to have it. Takes me higher than anything I know. Angel dust. Need a shot. See me through the day. So basically, it's just about a guy that's clearly got a drug addiction. I absolutely don't think that's got anything to do with the band. I think they were just grabbing for imagery that they could put music to, and it's probably the weakest vocal line on the album, as in the way it's mixed. It seems a bit because again it's suffering from that time when singers try to put too much into a stanza, and it's sort of like you can see sort of desperately trying to keep up with the music, which I can't imagine it would be very, very easy. But it's a great track, and again, another live track. It holds itself up. And then of course we have In League with Satan. Now, how can one album have two such iconic tracks on it? You've got Welcome to Hell, and now you've got In League with Satan. It is a call to arms. It is a thumping, angry, banner waving. This is the new genre. This is the new world. This is the new way. This is the way it's going, and this is where we're taking you. And it's not cheesy. You would think a song like called In League with Satan, with that great sing along, evil, in league with Satan. You'd think, oh man, it's going to be so cheesy, but it is not. It is dynamic. It is enthusiastic. It is terrifying. It is, you feel part of the team with this song. I can just imagine singing this live, and I have done, with the band, all in unison, right? It's got, again, all the Venom tropes. Angry, screeching, hell-like guitars, thumping bass, growling, aggressive call-to-arms vocals, and some really thunderous, low-tech, sometimes, drumming, which just pulls you along. And I'll read you the lyric. The opening is, I'm in league with Satan, I was raised in hell, I walk the streets of Salem amongst the living dead. I need no one to tell me what's wrong or right. I drink the blood of children and stalk my prey at night. Look out, beware when the moon is full, high and bright. I'm in every way, I'm there, in every shadow in the night, evil in league with Satan. Now, I did not give that its due justice, because that bit is brilliant, because it's this sort of like, the way he spits the lyric out on this, look out, beware when the night is, it's like, it's this sort of like, again, this sort of joyous, carry-on style, Hollywood horror movies of the 30s, kind of torch-bearing, chasing the monster kind of sound. It is brilliant. It is worth the admission price alone. This and Welcome to Hell. I don't know what else I can say about it, but it's just got one of the best. Brilliant. Evil in League with Satan is gold. And if I was whoever wrote that lyric went, right, I ain't got to work again, I'm done. It is just absolutely brilliant. You can see why it's the lead single. You can see why it's the first thing they released. It is very singly. It's got a great single feel to it. Anyway, and then we move on to Red Light Fever. Now, Red Light Fever says what it says on the packet, guys. Again, this might offend people. It is, I've said, is it the weakest song on the album? None of it's the weakest song, but it's certainly not one I readily think about when I think about this album, to be honest with you. It's still a cracking track, but it's something that I think they wrote deliberately to offend, to be honest. The one thing I will say, though, is in this track, you can hear the genesis, the seed of bands like Slayer. There's this thing that Mantis is doing with his whammy bar, this the sort of diving stuff he's doing, and Abaddon just thumping away on a kit that sounds like it's got covers on it. It doesn't sound like it's very dynamic. So I don't know, it's very flat, but in a sort of really interesting way. I did read that they made this song to be offensive. I'll read you the lyric, some of it, okay? I need a woman, oh so bad. You've ever got that feeling you've ever been had. You pay your money, you pay the price, you take a chance, it feels so nice. Later maybe you wonder why this little lady's gonna suck you dry. I mean, sorry. Should have put a spoiler warning on that one. And then he goes, bitch, you walk the streets and the darkness falls, you try to pass, but the red light calls. So it's basically a guy that's got prostitution addiction. Again, it says it all in the title, right? It is chaotic. It is definitely very much what you get with Venom. You get it later on with Teacher's Pet. And as I said, which I won't even go into that one because that one will really upset people. But who cares? This is, this podcast is going out to, all the people that it goes out to. It doesn't matter if you're offended by it, turn it off. But anyway, again, not my favourite apart from the fantastic sort of proto Slayer dive, whammy bar dives, which is on this track. Oh, look at that. See, I keep hitting the button. But that's the last track on the album. It is. Would I have ended with that track? No, I would have ended with In League with Satan. To be fair with you. To be fair with you. Sorry, it's been a long day and it's been, the way it goes. Yeah, it sort of feels tacked on, sort of, but it's a fan favourite. People love it. I said it. Apart from the lyrical content, which I can take or leave, I really do love Mantis's his whammy bar dives. So all in all, what I'm going to say about this album, wrap this up, it's been over an hour. Okay. More, I hear you cry, more. Well, no, stop, shut up and go to bed, he says, someone's saying out there. Look, for me, I'm going to sum it up, okay? It's a genre-changing, world-shattering metal album. It's not going to get anything in like a prize for, world peace or great lyrics or melodies or anything like that. It's not going to do anything like that. It does what it says on the packet. When you get that album out of the shelf or out of the record rack, and it's got a picture of the coat of Mendes in an inverted pentagram and the logo, it says Venom all twisted like the devil, and in old English font it says Welcome to Hell, you know what you're getting. If you think you're going to get Peter, Mary and Paul or whatever it is, or Simon and Garfunkel, then you really are deluded. What you're going to get is three young men at that time trying to be different to everyone else, riding the wave of independence, a newfound freedom that we found in the music industry as musicians and as audience members and as record buyers. And you create a sound that is now so iconic that it is sort of fathered a bastard subgenre that just keeps growing and multiplying and having different genres on different genres on different genres within the same genre. It is crazy what this little album did. It's just like Nevermind the Bollocks, just like Sgt. Pepper, just like Nevermind. This album really changed the way I listen to heavy metal, really, truly. And it also changed the way a lot of people view the genre as well, actually. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. I don't know which is which, really. Anyway, that's my review of Welcome to Hell, the first Venom album from 1981. It is still available on all streaming platforms. You can buy reissues of it now. Original copies are really hard to get hold of. I do have an original copy and a reissue, and all the reissues and all the coloured vinyl versions of it, and CD and cassette. To say I'm a fan would probably be an understatement. Anyway, it probably comes in the way across of how I reviewed this album. It's brilliant. And I just think that everyone should just have a listen. I said, I'm repeating myself, and I'm going to repeat myself again. It's not for everyone. But if you do step back from your or get off your high horse a bit and step back and view it for what it is, it's a chaotic piece of post-punk, hardcore, metal, satanic verse. It's exactly what it is. And it's just righteously fun and raucous, and it makes me just want to bang my head. It really does. It's a cracker of an album. And it's not even their best album. And that's something to say, right? Anyway, I'm signing off. I've chatted for over an hour. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, week, month, or year. Thanks for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe. I think that's what they say, isn't it? Give me a review. Either way, just come back, because I love talking to you guys and I love you listening, and it gives me a lot of joy, and I hope it gives you some joy listening to this stupid old Englishman's voice babbling on week after week. Anyway, that's enough for me. Bye for now. See ya.